Welcome to the 2020 flood simulation, aircraft relocation, and evacuation drill for the Chehalis-Centralia Airport. The photo that we're looking at here is an overview of the Chehalis-Centralia Airport. The areas that we're primarily going to be discussing today are the taxi lane that we'll refer to as the tow line, Gate 9, which is located on the southwest corner of the airfield, and the high ground, which is also located on the southwest corner of the airfield. As many of you are familiar with, the Chehalis-Centralia Airport does occasionally flood. Let's discuss proposed steps for flood control for this area. The airport has a levee that surrounds the entire airport and commercial property. However, this does not mean that we cannot flood. In 2007, the water began to enter the airport on the south end and eventually topped the levee. This resulted in a few aircraft lost and a lot of property damage. In response to the 2007 flood, airport levee improvements are being contemplated. Keep in mind, these improvements may take years to implement. The proposed project includes airport levee improvements to protect the Chehalis-Centralia Airport, local businesses, and area transportation corridors from damage from 100-year flood levels. Levee improvements include elevating the existing 9,500-foot long levee 4 to 7 feet, although at this point we're primarily discussing around 4 feet, raising 1,700 feet of airport road to meet the new airport levee height, and potentially changing the levee on the north end of the airfield. Another major flood mitigation project is the proposed construction of a water retention facility. This slide shows the proposed layout of the facility. Operational goals of the flood retention facility are to provide flood reduction in downstream areas, preserve geomorphic processes downstream, maintain slope stability within the reservoir, keep rate of change in flows downstream within accepted limits, and to provide debris management and removal in the reservoir after floods. This facility will have strict operating rules to comply with local, state, and federal regulations. The proposed operating rules for the site are to have available flood storage capacity of approximately 65,000 acre-feet, operate the facility without impounding water except during a potentially damaging flood, begin storing when Grand Mound flows are predicted to be above the major flood stage, or 38,800 CFS within 48 hours, reduce the reservoir outflow at a rate of 200 CFS per hour until reaching 300 CFS, and to maintain reservoir pool for additional 2 weeks for debris management. So how bad could it be here if no additional flood mitigation steps are taken, such as the flood retention facility or raising the levee that we discussed previously? Well, here's an image of 2007, the worst flood event in our area on record. During this event, the airport, I-5, and several businesses were under several feet of water. This image is looking the other direction toward I-5, and you can see the high ground of the airport and the aircraft that were left stranded there during the event. Thankfully, none of these aircraft were lost. Since the 2007 flood, steps have been taken locally to help in a flood event. During the 2007 flood, the pump house was submerged and subsequently shut down for a period. This caused additional problems during and after the flood. In the fall of 2017, the airport pump station replacement project was completed. The upgrades to the previous system will protect the airport and businesses in the area for many years to come. This project was funded by a grant from the Chehalis River Basin Flood Authority through the Washington State Recreation and Conservation Office. The new pump design includes a redundant pump in case the primary pump fails during a significant flooding event and has a capacity to pump 10 to 12,000 gallons of water per minute. That works out to roughly 14,400,000 gallons per day if they ran nonstop. Here's a photo that was taken of our old pump station that was taken before it was demolished for the 2017 project. And this is a current photo of what our existing pump station looks like today. You'll notice not only is it slightly higher to avoid being inundated with floodwaters, but you'll also see that we have a backup generator and storage tank for fuel on the levee. Other significant developments that have taken place since 2007 are major improvements to the information that we have available. Now, thanks to the Chehalis River Basin Flood Authority, we have access to an excellent website at www.chehalisriverflood.org or chehalis.onerain.com. Here, you can access real-time and forecast water levels. At this point in the presentation, you may be asking, how do we know what is going on as a tenant? Well, during periods of extended rainfall, the airport staff will consistently monitor water gauges, localized flooding, and the status of the airport pump station. Should the airport face an imminent flooding event, the airport staff will coordinate the actions required in order to minimize the damage to infrastructure while assisting tenants in securing their personal property, primarily the aircraft. During this time, we will also try and communicate to all of our tenants via email and via other notifications to let people know what's going on. At the beginning of the event, how should we proceed? Well, the first thing we want to remember is, number one, as long as the runway remains open, tenants always have the option of flying their aircraft to an alternate airport. This might be the best option for some. Two, aircraft movement to the high ground begins with airport personnel opening all of the hangars and gates. And number three, any volunteers who would like to assist are asked to check in at the airport operations office and pilot lounge located in the Scott Crossfield building. How will we handle aircraft movement during a flood event? Moving aircraft requires an understanding of where to connect tow equipment, how to safely move aircraft when under tow, and the proper way to secure aircraft when parked to ensure wind does not lift or move an aircraft into another, causing damage to one or more aircraft in a tie-down area. Typically, people who have the knowledge and experience to tow aircraft are, number one, the aircraft owner and airport staff who have been trained and have experience in towing aircraft. Airport staff, along with Central Aircraft Repair, may assist in the movement of aircraft after their business and flood checklists are completed. One thing I want to stress here is we do have certain infrastructure requirements that do need to be completed before we can assist fully. Number one, we're going to need to secure our fuel system. Let's discuss securing aircraft. Number one, this is the responsibility of the aircraft owner. We want to make sure that we always set the parking brake, lock the yoke, and tie the aircraft down. And don't forget, tie-down straps are the aircraft owner's responsibility. If you decide that you're not going to evacuate to another airport, let's talk about how we're going to move the aircraft to the high ground. First, we're going to line up aircraft on what we'll refer to as the tow line. If you look at the image here on the right side of the screen, the tow line is where aircraft will line up and wait to be towed to the high ground. Next, the towed aircraft will be taken through Gate 9 to the high ground. The high ground, highlighted in this photo here, has been expanded since the 2007 flood. Also, there are cables strung along the ground to tie off to, and if we get everyone packed in there tightly, we should have more than enough room for all aircraft on the airfield. I want to thank you for your time today and encourage you that if you have questions or comments, please reach out to us at your earliest convenience. Communication during times like this is most important. Thank you.